Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Fit Chicks Chat. My name is Laura Jackson, and if you're watching this, you will see it is just me today. But I'm really excited for this podcast because I'm talking about one of my favorite things, which is nutrition. Now, a couple weeks ago, we did a podcast. It's about to be summer, and we did a podcast talking about, different hacks for your summer to keep your summer goals or to reach your summer goals. Because for a lot of whether you're a coach or whether you're just listening to learn for yourself, a lot of people tend to think that summertime is either a time to put their fitness goals and their health goals and their weight loss goals on pause because a lot of things are changing. So for example, the kids are home from school or you're traveling a lot to the cottage or you're taking vacation from work, you're not in your regular quote unquote schedule, right? So a lot of people think, oh, you know what? I'm going to put a pause on, really focusing on moving forward towards my goal, or I'm not going to start my journey now. I'll start it in the fall. And this is very detrimental because we cannot treat our health journeys as a start and stop journey. And that's one of the biggest mindset shifts that I found for me was so beneficial was when focusing on my health was not something I did, it was who I was. And there's a very big distinction. So for me, it didn't start and stop. It was something I brought with me everywhere I went. So whether I was traveling, I still would focus on the same rules of eating. I would still focus on the same movement. It would just look different, right? Or if, after I had my son, if my son's home, it would just look different. If I was at a work event, it just looked different. Instead of feeling, because before that, prior to that, I would always feel so much anxiety every single time that I would have to go on a trip because of that exact reason. I would feel like I have to stop my health journey. I'm going to go on this trip and then I got to start it again when I come back. And this stop and start cycle, not only mentally was it very taxing, but also physically, I was not getting anywhere because I was not getting that momentum that I needed from the consistency of the habits day over day over day. Okay. So I'm really focused on making sure you guys have tools, easy habits that you can actually implement into your life that can help you through this summer season. So you're not putting on a pause, or your clients who are wanting to put it on pause aren't doing it either, because that cycle just ends up, gets everyone nowhere. And also, health is something we have to focus on every single day. It's just most of us don't know how to do it. Something I talk about in Fit Chicks Academy with my students all the time. It's the difference between knowing the theory, the concept, and then actually bringing it into your life. They're two totally different things. It's like, okay, I know I should be eating vegetables, but then how do I get them on my client's fork? How do I actually get them into my belly, right? There's a lot of disconnect because we just don't know how to do it. So if we can simplify it and create it as habits that we do every single day, then we can lead our own nutrition better. And we're not feeling like, oh, it's time to start, it's time to stop with whatever's going on in our lives. It's just something that we do and we bring with us through every season, whether it be every actual season of winter, spring, summer, fall, or also every season, whether it's a season that, you're having a baby or you're working overseas or, you get a new job or you're starting a business. It's not something that we do or don't do. It's just who we are. And that is my goal. The other thing too, I just want to drop before we get into this, is that we are about to open up our summer fast track certifications. I'm so excited. So typically we only open our certifications a couple of times a year. So our last one was in May, I believe. But during the summer months, we are opening up our summer fast track certifications. So that means that you can get certified as fast as possible. So while still also getting the full support of our team. So both of our certifications, our fitness and nutrition expert certification is open for fast track, as well as our holistic nutrition weight loss coach certification. You can move through it as quickly as you want. Again, while still getting the full support of our programs coaches and our team. So we're sharing a lot about that. So make sure you are on our email list. Go to fitchicksacademy.com, opt in. We have some live info sessions. We have incredible workshops and free classes coming up all month long to really encourage people to not put anything on pause this summer. And let's turn this summer into something where we're focusing on our goals, whether it be our fitness goals, our health goals, our weight loss goals, or our career goals. Okay. So I want to get that in before we dive into this. So let's talk about a few different. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys 4 different nutrition habits for this summer that are going to be game changing. Okay. Now, the first one, I kind of talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, 2 podcasts ago. But it's the idea of really focusing on getting those low glycemic vegetables in at every single meal. Okay. So I'm not talking about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm talking about every time that you eat. I want vegetables to start to be part of the way that you think when you're building your meals, specifically the low glycemic vegetables. And right now in the summer months, they're in season. So these are the vegetables that grow in the summertime, typically. They grow above the ground, typically. They're lower in starch, they're lower in sugar, which means they don't spike our blood sugar as much. While we still get a ton of vitamins and minerals. They're also the ones that are lower in calories, while they still have fiber and they still bulk us up. So we can eat a lot of these foods and they make us feel really, really full. So we're satisfied during the meal. We don't end up overeating. And then also we're just giving our body all these amazing vitamins and minerals to support all the other processes that are involved in health, right? Like balancing hormones, gut health, making sure that we're maximizing our digestive health, everything that goes along that's really important, not just about calorie counting and all of these things, or just thinking, oh, vegetables are good for me. They're so beneficial in so many different ways. So that's the first tip for summer, is to try to get 2 cups of low glycemic vegetables in every time that you eat. So every time you have a meal, that is where you're going to be adding that in. So that could be as simple as having a big romaine lettuce salad, right? Or having chopped up tomatoes as a side. It could be adding in spinach into your smoothie. It could be having the low glycemic berries like blackberries and raspberries and strawberries, having those as a snack, right? Alongside of some other things we're going to talk about in a moment. But really adding these foods in, and this was a habit for me that totally changed the game. Because what ended up happening, especially during my weight loss journey, is that I stopped feeling hungry all the time. Now, that also tied into because I was balancing blood sugar, but I was going from being someone who would eat, I would feel like I had to eat constantly because I was never eating enough in one sitting. And with low glycemic vegetables, you can eat enough where the bulk happens, that your stomach feels full, but you're not overeating on calories. So for weight loss, it's such a great hack and it's such a great way for you to feel satisfied during a meal. The worst feeling is when you're eating and you're like, okay, I can't eat anymore, but you still feel hungry, right? You still feel unsatisfied. So this time of year, we have such an amazing plethora of a really great high quality low glycemic fruits and vegetables available. We can eat local. We can, it's usually cheaper at this time of year. So it's just a really great time to focus on getting in 2 cups. And my last thing is to rotate them. So get in 2 cups and have different things. So there's so many different low glycemic vegetables, from zucchinis, cucumbers, onions, asparagus, tomatoes, all the leafy greens. So romaine lettuce, kale, Swiss chard, even all the cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. There's so many different things. And if you Google, one of my favorite things, I actually have a ton of recipes I just found. Anything like Googling barbecued vegetables, there's so many great, cool things now you can do, from making cauliflower steaks to doing, veggie kebabs. You can do stuffed peppers. You can have so many different foil packets, like cooking foil packets. There's so many ways to cook vegetables too, that it doesn't just have to be raw vegetables. Okay. So that is the first thing for summer. And again, these are hacks too that you can bring all year round. You can, wherever you're, whether it's winter or whether it's summertime. But it is something that for me, when I started implementing this, it started to change the way that I ate, because instead of thinking about, oh, what am I going to eat for calories? I'm like, okay, I'm just going to focus on getting 2 cups and really bulk up. And if I was still hungry, I could eat more of that. So I would have a big salad. If I still was hungry, I would have more salad along with my protein and healthy fats. Okay. So that's the first thing for summer. Really focus on that bulk up, because It is so wonderful to feel satisfied after a meal. The second thing is to get protein at every single meal. So very, very, very important. And still to this day, so many women are not getting enough protein in. And again, I think it's just the way of not knowing how to incorporate protein into your meals. So protein is the building blocks of our bodies. We need protein to build muscle. We need protein to repair our bodies when we're injured. We need protein to maintain muscle mass. And as women, as we get older, our muscle mass will deteriorate faster if we're not, especially if we're not actively strength training or resistance training in some form. So we've got to make sure we're getting adequate protein to support our muscle mass. So, so, so important. Now, again, protein, there's so many different great protein sources. You can get it from a wide variety of, animal sources. So we could look at beef, chicken, fish, turkey, pork, all of those. Again, we want to look for the best sources we can get it from. But also there's so many great things like Greek yogurt, like cottage cheese, like beans and legumes. There's a ton of protein powders from all different sources. So before you could only get protein from milk, like whey protein powder or casein protein powder. Now you can get pea protein powder, brown rice protein powder. There is egg protein powder. There's so many different options for both animal sources, from animal sources and from plant sources if you are a vegan or a vegetarian or your clients are. So especially in the summertime, I always recommend to have a protein powder on hand. And again, this is a great way to easily make smoothies that you can then, throw in a bunch of low glycemic vegetables and fruits to really bulk you up, and then you're getting protein, because a lot of times we are not feeling like cooking. Right? In the summertime, we don't want to feel like cooking. So having a good protein powder on hand to be able to add that in, so important. Protein is just so important, and we have to focus on it. I ideally say at least 20 to 25 grams per meal. So that's not that much. That's like the palm of your hand if you're looking at meat. So it's about 3 to 4 ounces. One scoop of protein powder is typically between 20 to 30 grams. 3/4 of a cup of Greek yogurt is usually around like 16 grams. And again, you can add in some other things, because we also have to think that protein is not just coming from one source. When we add in other things, they have traces of protein. So for example, even leafy greens have protein in them. So if we're even getting a gram or 2 grams from here, we have 16 grams from our Greek yogurt, and then we toss in a couple of sunflower seeds, some chia seeds, things like that, we will definitely be within our 20 to 25 grams. So really making that focus on low glycemic vegetables and making sure you're getting protein. Protein also keeps us fuller longer, so in between meals. And in the summertime when we're on the go, we don't want to be stuck out somewhere where we're suddenly hangry and snacky, and then we're just making decisions that aren't in line with our goals. Okay. The third thing is about alcohol. Now, alcohol is one of these things that there are nutrition coaches out there who think you should just totally avoid alcohol. Now, I'm one of these people who I believe that whatever your nutrition is, it has to be realistic. So we have to, as coaches, or even for yourself, know what your alcohol, like have a strategy for alcohol. Because if your clients are going to drink, or if you're going to drink, you still want it to be in line with your goals. So in the summer months too, there's a lot of things that are like beer, things like sugary daiquiris, margaritas, all of these coolers, like those cider coolers and things like that in cans. There's so many canned drinks now that are very sugary that it's very easy for us. And it's not even just about consuming a lot of empty calories, because an empty calorie is basically calories that they add energy to your body, but they don't provide any benefit. So protein, carbs, and fats provide a lot of benefit to our body, right? Proteins help us build muscle. Fats are involved in, of course, hormonal balance. Carbohydrates give us energy, fiber to feed our guts, all of that stuff. Alcohol, it just gives us a buzz. It's a toxin our body has to clear out. And then basically, we've now consumed all this energy that if we have too much energy, we will gain weight. But it's not utilized for anything other than just calories, just energy. So And we will always prioritize clearing alcohol first over anything else. So if your goal is to focus on, your health journey and you're focusing, let's say, on balancing hormones and you're consuming all this alcohol and your liver has to clear that out, it's always going to focus on that over helping to balance out the other things. So that being said, if you are still going to drink alcohol in the summertime, is just making sure that you're really focused on the lower sugar options. Also, because alcohol does not impact blood sugar, but alcohol with sugary drinks and starches impacts blood sugar. So if you have, let's say, a vodka and soda, or there's a lot of cans too now that are just soda and alcohol, right? Like a vodka and soda, gin and soda, flavored, like there's no calories in it, no sugar. There's calories, there's no sugar in it, no added juices and things like that. So that, of course, it's not going to impact blood sugar. Okay. When we drink that, we're not having this big spike in blood sugar where we're having insulin come out. However, when we are drinking that vodka mixed with, let's say, cranberry juice and soda, the sugar in the cranberry juice is now going to have a blood sugar response, which is then going to have an insulin response. So if we're trying for weight loss and balancing hormones and we're drinking so much throughout the day, even if we're not eating too much, it can just be really detrimental for our overall health and also for us reaching our goals. So if you are going to drink, go for the low sugar options. It's the same thing with beer. Beer is not sugary, but it's starchy, right? There's carbohydrates in beer. So same thing, we're going to have more of a response to that than we are to a dry, low sugar glass of white wine. So picking the lower sugar alcohol options is just really important because, again, we want to be eating our calories. We want to be getting our calories from sources that have tons of protein, fiber, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals that can benefit the body. And the last tip is around eating times, eating windows. So an eating window is basically just the hours of the day that you are eating. You're consuming food or drinks that have calories in them. So for example, most people, the easiest way to kind of explain this is a lot of people, we fast, we have a non-eating window when we go to bed, right? So even if you were to eat up until the moment you went to sleep, let's say you slept 8 hours a night, that is your non-eating window because you aren't consuming any food or calories during that time. So your eating window would be, let's say you wake up and have breakfast at 8 o'clock, be between 8 and let's say you have your last meal at 7. That's your eating window. And then your non-eating window is the time around that. So when it comes to summertime, one of the things is we tend to be grazing a lot all day long. And this is one of, again, the most detrimental things when it comes to, especially if your goal is weight loss, but just you're setting yourself up, your body up to work against you. When you eat all the time, not only are you having these glucose spikes, right? So we're elevating blood sugar, then we elevate insulin. And it also, too, it depends on the foods you're eating during these times that you're eating as well. So if you're eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of carbohydrates, these are going to be bigger spikes. But also, that not only is going to make it more challenging to lose weight, but then you're dealing with cravings. Because when we program our bodies to eat all day long, we then become hungry all day long. There's a hormone called ghrelin. I call it the gremlin. It's basically your hunger hormone. It's the one that says, feed me, feed me, feed me. I'm hungry. It feels the rumble in the tummy. That's your ghrelin calling, right? But we program our ghrelin. So if we eat all day long, we're telling our ghrelin, our alarm clock, our hunger clock to say, okay, growl at 7 o'clock when I have my breakfast, growl at 9 o'clock when I have my snack, my, coffee break at work, growl at 10 o'clock when I grab that candy off the desk, right? So the more that we can space out our eating windows and have longer durations of a non-eating window to an eating window, not only are we setting ourselves up to have less cravings down the road and overall, but we're allowing our blood sugar to come down and to balance and our insulin to balance in between this. And our body should be a dance, right? These hormones, so many people like to, blame certain hormones. Like insulin is bad. Insulin is not bad. Insulin is a great hormone. It's when it gets out of whack. It's when we are abusing our insulin, right? When we're eating foods all day long that are really highly packaged, highly refined. We're not having our proteins, our fiber, our fats to slow down those blood sugar spikes. When we're having insulin just working all the time, it's so much more challenging for it to do its job. So we have to make sure that we're giving our body these breaks where it's okay, insulin's doing its job, then insulin's taking a rest, and the other hormones are doing their job, and then insulin comes back in, right? It's not like spike, 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 spike. So I want to, in the summertime, encourage you to try to pay attention, not even saying that you have to do a full fast, which fasting, we fast every day as it is anyways. Like I said, we fast when we go to bed. You're already doing a fast. But if we can lengthen our non-eating window a little bit, maybe it's we're having breakfast or meal one. I don't even like to call meals breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because what happens then is we then associate them with a specific time and specific foods. So it's like, okay, I have to have breakfast before 11 o'clock. I always encourage my students to think of it as meal one, meal two, meal three, if you're doing 3 meals a day. And you can break your fast at any time, which is just the word breakfast, break fast. So if you want to have your first meal at noon because you are doing a longer non-eating window, that's fine. If you want to have your first meal of the day at 7 a.m. as soon as you wake up, that's fine too. But making sure that you are having space in between your eating windows. And again, this is just really, really beneficial and getting out of this habit of grazing all day long. And in the summertime, again, it's so easy because we've got summer parties, the kids are home, we're doing this, doing that. But if we can just get into the habit of knowing, okay, I'm going to have my first meal of the day a little bit later on, or I'm going to stop eating later on. Maybe I'm not having dinner at, 9 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. Maybe I'm doing dinner at 5 and that's my last meal of the day. So my non-eating window is longer. And it will really help to balance out blood sugar, help with calorie reduction if weight loss is one of your goals, and also help to balance your hormones too. Okay, so those are my 4 tips for summertime. So number 1, adding 2 cups of low glycemic vegetables at every single meal. Really eating seasonally right now because it's going to be so beneficial. And not only that, it's cheaper. Number 2 is getting protein at every single meal. So there's such a wide array of proteins that you can have, not just thinking about meat. And of course, thinking about protein as trying to get to that goal of 20 to 25 grams. And you can combine things. So understanding that it's not just, oh, I need 20 grams of chicken. You could have, like I said earlier, some Greek yogurt, chia seeds have protein. You're adding some berries or making a smoothie, adding in spinach. All of those have protein as well. So we can collect and combine to make our proteins as well. So 2 cups of low glycemic vegetables, 20 to 25 grams of protein per meal. Number 3 is alcohol. If we're going to drink it, let's go for the low sugar options. So there's a lot of those, any clear liquor mixed with soda water. Make sure you're reading your labels if you are having it. And then making sure too that you're hydrating enough as well. You're getting enough water outside of that. Dry white wine. We want to stay away from anything that has sugar or starch in it. And then the 4th thing is eating windows. So just being aware of how long your non-eating window is. I recommend at least 12-hour non-eating window. Now, again, there are some people who have different situations where they cannot not eat for 12 hours for health conditions and things like that. But for generally at least 12 hours. So that would be, let's say if you had your last meal at 8 o'clock at night, you would not eat till at least 8 o'clock in the morning. If you're more advanced, you can extend that eating window and not eat for, let's say, 14 hours or 15 hours or 16 hours or 17 hours. But allowing yourself time in between and getting out of the grazing. When you're eating, that took me a moment to get out. When you are eating, you are eating. You eat enough to fill yourself up, which is why the first 2 things, the protein, the low glycemic vegetables, getting the bulk. And if you're not feeling full, eating more of those low glycemic vegetables to really fire those stretch receptors in the stomach. But when you're eating enough to really feel satisfied. So you can go for a longer period of time. without feeling like you have to be constantly snacking and grazing. I guarantee you, you will see massive differences in your energy levels, in the way that you feel, also the way you digest. And if weight loss is one of your goals, it's a really great way to move towards it. Okay, so those are 4 of my tips that you can take anywhere, summer or not, to help you think about leaving your own nutrition throughout this month, getting off that start and stop cycle and really just making it part of who you are and what you do. And the way we bring that into our day to day is with habits like this. Okay. So have an amazing day. Remember, our summer fast track certifications are starting June 21st. Enrollment opens for them. If you want more information, you can go to fitchicksacademy.com or email us at info@fitchicks.ca. And I cannot wait to talk to you guys next week about some more amazing stuff about transforming your health this summer. Okay, have an amazing day, and I will see you later. Bye.